What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Today I just decided to show like some various configurations I did on the Astro C40 and just show you how the whole thing works because I am planning. I'm gonna try and test it out on Monster Hunter World. So as you can see, I got my profiles all ready and stuff. So default, if I remember correctly, so the controller is connected to my PC. Press the switch on the controller, which basically gives you different. So this is the default function, which is mapped. Problem is, I think I fucked up one that's call on map, and it stays that way. I can't even change what the fuck it is supposed to be anyway. Damn it. On map profile. There's no way to delete this. So right now it's pretty much in default, although I think I'll treat default like it's nothing. Like it's the standard look. I think it's better that way. Because I can't even get rid of this. And it automatically becomes this. So yeah. So default control, no change at all whatsoever. Problem is I realized that you can't even change the L2 and the R2. Like you can put some functions out there on L1, L2 and 1, but I think it's because they're like squeeze trigger type. They didn't bother to put like peripherals, so like I couldn't put, let's say like I couldn't put UL and UR with R2 and R1, so they are not even part of functions. It's sad, really. So let's see. All right, so we see that. I don't have to go back, but I prefer doing this. So this is the control. This is the profile I did for the game Dauntless. So as you can tell, in the game Dauntless, circle is the dodge button. So I decided to map circle because unfortunately Dauntless doesn't have like the ability to customize your controller. So I put the dodge button on L3. Which will now L3 will act like a dodge system. Since there was never anything assigned to L3, so it's fine. Since the sprint is related to R2. The biggest problem with Dauntless is the targeting. Which, well, actually L3 is associated with default camera, more like a camera reset. And when you have like a monster in front of you, they call it behemoth. It basically resets the camera to focus directly on the monster itself. But the problem is the annoyance of it is that you constantly click, because the moment you use your melee weapons, which is basically like square and triangle, well, you lose touch of the camera. So I decided to avoid that and basically associated triangle and square with UL and UR. You know, I felt like it would be simpler, and at the same time, I would always have my hands like controls with the analog sticks, at least the view. The X was the jump button, but wasn't that really important since there's not even much of jump attacks. Like it's just like for terrain, but it's not the most important function. So there we go. What else do I want to show? I could definitely delete that. It's not necessary. Yes, delete it. So God Eater TPS, which I call third-person shooter. Although I should have gone with third-person perspective, but then it will turn into TPP. So yeah. so as you can see in this regard, so I made some switch because in God Eater's 2 Rage Burst, there's actually some functions that are associated with L2 and R2, which was not like it wasn't there in the first God Eater Resurrections. They had like no L2 and R2 associations, so I basically associated L2 and R2 with basically square and triangle. And not only this, I did some adjustments with the sensitivity of the analog stick. Yeah, you can do that too, because when they were on normal setting, like when it was, I'm pretty sure you can still see it. Like above, it will show you like it can go all the way, but the moment I go in the corner, it doesn't go all the way. So I had to adjust the sensitivity to make sure it's still registered going full, like really going there. Which the sad thing is, unfortunately, is that I have to adjust right here. I have to adjust it right here. I can't just go like this, like point it like this, and then play with it to make sure to increase the sensitivity on these sectors. So it doesn't feel like it's everywhere. So that's the drawback. And also, of course, you have like the sensitivity of the trigger. You also have the audio, that how it comes out. Like either your speaker, you got your speaker. You also have like mic and stuff like that, equalizer and shit and stuff like that. It's not really that important since don't use the thing. You also got the effects when it comes to rumbler and as well as the LED light. So to see if it comes out as much as you wish it. And of course, there we go. So as you can tell, here I adjusted some sensitivity to make sure that it doesn't automatically trigger. I think I'm going to do the same thing when I start working with working on the schematics for Monster Hunter World. So here we go. So right here I got melee, both melee weapons, which when you go into gun mode, it's the same buttons. But the problem is that when you fire, you tend to let go of the analog sticks. So I wanted to avoid that. So I wanted to make sure that I had constantly control, because like there's some weapons that allow you to lock onto a monster, but some of them don't always do. And I feel like it's better to have control of where you're firing constantly. So you got like my dodge, the dodge button is situated straight from L3. R3 is the jump button because like there's some jumping attacks. There's actually jumping attacks in this game, so therefore it's not a secondary function. And of course, UL and UR situated there. I couldn't use the L2 anymore because they were already associated. And as you can tell, I can't switch. Like I can't restore, like put the function of L2 and R2 in other different weapon, like buttons. I could have, because at the first point I thought was like do like the other one, in the first one, and associate these two with L2 and R2. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't do it because I don't have that option. As you can see, there is no L2 and R2. It's not the association is not there anymore. It's not there. So unfortunately, I can't play this, and I don't know if it's because of an issue with the triggers and stuff. I think that's the case, but anyway. So with that, this is how I decided to change the control. All right, so it's time for us to start working on a new profile. So I'll keep the default profile still the same, but these profiles can also be associated with the first profile. But rather rely it straight to the second one. So God Eater TPS. All right, Monster Hunter World. Fucking hate it. Sometimes it just doesn't register. I have to be careful. There's a limit of how much I can write. So we'll call it MH. Can I put it? Damn it. World. Custom. Damn it, I reached the limit. TPV. Third person view. I wanted to go with view mandate, but yeah. So, let's see. What could I... Can probably edit it later on, so just create it. So there it is. Now, can't touch R3, that's for sure. So what could I do with it? Thing is, it has a lock-on system. So from what I see, I think I'm gonna associate UL with square, which is the melee buttons. No, wait. Fuck that. I forgot. This is Monster Hunter World. Triangle. And for UR, it's gonna be circle. And the reason why I'm going for that is because of when you're using the bow and arrow. Like when you're using the bow. Gotta be careful. And I think it can probably help me because of which weapon was it? I think it was like the insect glaive. Like you jump around and like you want to keep an eye on what's going on. Sometimes it's not everyone relies on the lock-on function. The beauty about the combos is that it's not a masher, so you don't need to rapidly press those triangles or square, circle. So it's not a button masher. So that's the thing. So we got that. All right, this one is gonna be X, which is where you can crouch and dodge. Very useful when you do using the bow and arrow. So let's see. Is there any change I can make? Oh yeah, that's right. So first, sensitivity here. I don't understand why it's like that. Like, why is it doing that? Now that I think about it, I wonder if if you can't control the sensitivity here of your controller, it makes you wonder, like, what else? Like, when people develops a game, do they adjust how the controller is gonna function? Like, how the analog stick's gonna be? I think there's always a part that's always the weakest. Don't get it why, though. Alright, so trigger, we're going to have to avoid it from being too sensitive. So, just to avoid accidental press, we're going to drop this thing. If I remember correctly, there's no charge. That should do it. Besides, I can always go back to default if I messed up. So here we go. No need to play with this. I'm pretty sure fine. I'm pretty much fine with it. So yeah, there we go. Sync controller. And then it's done. So now it's at left is unplug it. So like if I could show, I can switch, goes back to that normal place. There's the default. So yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, here we go. Alright, so with this, time to play some Monster Hunter World. I put that thing way in pause, but yeah. Let's see if those change will make a difference. Or worthless. We'll see.